All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Lytham Spotlight Series, where we shine a light on public companies through insightful interviews and exclusive updates. My name is Robert Blum, managing partner here at Lytham and your host. Today, we're very excited to feature Jaguar Health, a commercial stage pharmaceuticals company focused on developing novel proprietary prescription medicines sustainably derived from plants from the rainforest areas for people and animals with gastrointestinal distress. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with their CEO, Lisa Conte, to discuss ongoing efforts to further its orphan disease development programs. Before we jump in, I want to note that this interview may feature forward-looking statements, so please refer to the end of this video or the links in the description box below for all appropriate disclaimers and disclosures. All right, without further ado, Lisa, welcome.
Thank you, Robert. I'm always so pleased to talk with Lytham Partners. So thank you very much for welcoming me.
Great, fantastic. We always enjoy having you. Let's kick things off here. We're excited to hear an update regarding the company's recent Type C meeting with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. Provide some details if you could.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so pleased to speak about this as well. This is a continuation of really our 8-year journey to bring crofelemer to supportive care for cancer patients and cancer therapy related diarrhea. So this was very specifically triggered by the completion and the submission of our results from our on-target trial. Our on-target trial was for cancer patients, prophylactic, for cancer patients on targeted therapy with or without cytotoxic chemotherapy. And in particular, the statistically significant results we have in a responder analysis of breast cancer patients. So the FDA granted us a face-to-face meeting, and we had to, summarize it. We had 3 proposals that were provided by the company, and I'm very happy to say we have minutes from the FDA that acknowledge the discussion that we had and the pathways forward. So the first is that we propose a smaller treatment trial in metastatic breast cancer patients where there is really dramatic unmet medical need, and these patients now are living 5, 10, 15 years, yet often with very, very severe diarrhea. Secondly, this population, we estimate, is about 150, 160,000 people in the United States. So it fits the definition of an orphan designation. So we will file an orphan application, seek that designation, and perhaps also breakthrough and fast track review, which will give us greater flexibility in both the timing and the regulatory response. And finally, something that's very important to me, immediately be able to start an expanded patient access program under our IND so that patients that really are in dramatic need right now will be able to get access to the product. Finally, one other thing I do want to mention is the meeting, again, face-to-face meeting, is a very technical meeting. So there's a lot of discussions about statistics. And we did start this program with surveys about patient and patient needs 8 years ago. There are now close to 100 targeted therapies that are approved, almost all, if not all, that cause diarrhea by the mechanism of action that crofelemer specifically mitigates. And so we'll be updating those surveys to really understand how these endpoints can match with clinical meaningfulness and patient relevance at this time.
Yeah, talk about how significant of an issue is cancer therapy related diarrhea for patients treated with for metastatic breast cancer.
So what's really fascinating as we've been in this area, there's over 100 now targeted therapies that are really allowing the metastatic patient to live 5, 10, 15 years with their cancer in check. Almost all of these agents, if not all of them, cause a secretory diarrhea that crofelemer uniquely is able to normalize. So to put it in perspective, HR positive patients, HER2 positive patients, metastatic patients might be on any of 3 agents, Perjeta, abemaciclib, Trucab. These agents have diarrhea at rates of 70 to 90%. Even grade 2 diarrhea is 4 to 6 loose watery stools a day, and there's 4 grades of diarrhea. Grade 3 diarrhea, you're talking about more than 7 loose watery stools a day. That's not living, and that's something that is so important, in particular to the metastatic patient. We're not talking about cytotoxic chemotherapy, what we see in movies, the horrible nausea, fatigue, diarrhea. That's maybe for a limited period of time. This is for the rest of your life. And metastatic patients, as all of us, want to live. They don't want to just exist.
You know, talk maybe just a little bit more about the discussion that occurred during the meeting with the FDA.
So the meeting included about a dozen or so representatives from the FDA, and we had representatives from both the gastrointestinal division, which is the division that regulates us. Crofelemer is already approved by the gastrointestinal division for chronic diarrhea, people living with HIV/AIDS, but also had representatives from the cancer division. We had statisticians there, and you had about a dozen people from the company, principal investigators from the trial, and we had 2 patient advocates. And so the meeting opened after a short introduction from the company and our regulatory folks with a metastatic patient talking about her experience with diarrhea. And I think we have a clip. This is Dr. Kelly Shanahan, who's also one of our formal SAB members. So maybe we could listen to Kelly, and then I could tell you a little bit more how the meeting went.
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I've been living with metastatic breast cancer for 11 years. About 10 months ago, my cancer progressed to my liver, and my oncologist prescribed capivasertib to me. I always research the medications I'm going to take, and I was aware of the fact that capivasertib has an 89% incidence of diarrhea. The first 2 weeks on the medicine, I thought, I'm not going to be that person. Well, the third week showed me the truth about capivasertib, and I began experiencing grade 3 diarrhea. I followed the recommendations of my oncologist and I took an Imodium. I know I'm risk sensitive to Imodium, so I took half an Imodium. I had constipation for 3 days. I had cramps. I had pain. I felt like I was giving birth out of the wrong orifice when the time came to have a bowel movement. I recall talking to my husband and saying, if this is what my life is going to be like, it is not worth living. I had heard about crofelemer and was aware of the data on its efficacy in treating HIV treatment-related diarrhea. So I asked my oncologist if I could have a prescription, and she agreed. I started crofelemer midway through my second cycle of capivasertib.
So it may seem like the clip ended abruptly. So in the meeting, Kelly not only spoke about this, dramatic situation with diarrhea, but she also received a prescription for crofelemer, and she was able to speak to her experience with crofelemer, which I can't speak to as the CEO of the company. And it really was quite moving for everybody in that meeting, as you could imagine. We also had another patient advocate, Stacy Tianov, and she spoke about the importance not only of comfort and dignity managing diarrhea and all side effects, to tell you the truth, in this patient population, but it's an important factor also to allow patients to stay on their life-saving therapy. About 40% of the time, cancer patients go off or go to a subtherapeutic dose of their targeted therapy, their chemotherapy, specifically because of diarrhea. And she finished her statement really with a very profound comment. She looked at everybody in the room and she said, even grade 2 diarrhea, which is often referred to in publications as a tolerable toxicity, tolerable to whom? Where do you find time in your life for 4 to 6 loose, watery stools with uncertainty, with surprise every single day? And that sort of gave everybody a moment to pause.
Yeah, I bet. Um, but cancer therapy related diarrhea is it's a very significant issue for these cancer patients, but it's beyond just the quality of life, isn't it?
Yes. So as I said, patients go off their therapy. There's even cost associated with it. Grade 3, you're typically going to end up in the hospital and have to have some sort of rehydration. Grade 4 is, we're getting serious. There have even been patients who have died in some of the targeted therapy clinical trials due to the the dehydration and the organ shutdown that occurs in those patients.
Okay, let's talk more. Tell us more how the company's focus here on CTD and metastatic breast cancer complements or aligns with your focus on rare and orphan diseases.
Well, so we're really now fully embracing an orphan strategy. We already have an orphan program for crofelemer with intestinal failure, specifically in MVID, which is a congenital diarrheal disorder, which is ultra rare, and short bowel syndrome. And just about 2 months ago, we put out really groundbreaking data there. In these patients with intestinal failure, they exist on parenteral nutrition, sometimes up to 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, obviously very catastrophic medically for these patients, very, very difficult quality of life, but also the morbidity, the liver dysfunction, the kidney dysfunction, even the cognitive dysfunction. So it would be unheard of, groundbreaking, if you could reduce parenteral nutrition need, for example, in an MVID patient, a congenital diarrheal disease patient. We were able to do that, and we had our first two proof of concept results in MVID, 27% reduction in parenteral nutrition. Absolutely unheard of, groundbreaking, paradigm shifting mechanism of action. And in short bowel syndrome, after 3 months, it was down to 11%. Each of these patients, and this was an investigator initiated trial, and it was reported at the Sheikh Khalifa Medical, it was an investigator from the Sheikh Khalifa Medical City at an international conference in Abu Dhabi, the Ped Elite conference about 2 months ago. Each of these patients at the end of 3 months of treatment, and it was increasing dosing, so at the end of 3 months, they were then taken off crofelemer and both relapsed. And then now we will be providing drugs to them for the rest of their life. Not only reduction of parenteral nutrition, but an increase in urine output, which means that they're actually starting to have some of their own absorption. And, overall, a much positive situation for the patients and the families and the caregivers. And the caregivers in this situation extend even beyond the family, because the nurses and the physicians that take care of them are with them from the day they're born.
Let's talk about what are the next steps here for the company with sort of the strategic focus on orphan indications.
So what we're going to do, if we go back to the cancer program, and the crofelemer in the cancer program and intestinal failure is two different products. So crofelemer in the intestinal failure program is a highly concentrated lyophilized formulation. It sort of looks like this, because a pill would go right through them. In the cancer program, the formulation is the same formulation that's approved right now, Mytesi, that's approved for people living with HIV/AIDS. So it's a pill, the same dose, the same formulation. What we will do is, first of all, file the clinical study report for the on-target trial, the prophylactic trial that has been completed. Simultaneously, we will be providing a protocol for treatment in a metastatic patient population. Simultaneously, we will be filing for orphan designation for a metastatic breast cancer population. And I believe patients who have metastasized to their brain from breast cancer is an already designated orphan population. And then also seek fast track breakthrough designation. So overall, what we're looking to have is the on-target prophylactic study be supportive of a smaller treatment study in metastatic patient with an expeditious regulatory review process with expedited or fast track designation to get this product to breast cancer patients as quickly as possible. Simultaneously, implementing an early patient access program for those patients right now with the full definition of unmet medical need, and particularly those who wouldn't qualify for the clinical trial that we'll be going forward with.
All right, very helpful. Sort of wrapping things up here, obviously where you have revenue from your commercialized programs, yet in this sort of financial environment that we're in here, what are the funding needs to achieve these development stage activities you've discussed?
Yeah, it's a very tough financial environment for healthcare in general, and in particular small cap. but it's a different time for us. We've had all our rare disease programs, all our orphan indications have been in the works for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in terms of understanding patient needs. We're very patient-centric focused company, investigator sites, what the endpoints would look like, what the enrollment criteria would look like. And there has been sort of a convergence of catalysts that are happening right now. The recent data that we put out in intestinal failure, the pathways forward from the FDA meeting. So these are the moments where we feel we really can bring in meaningful partners and meaningful dollars, truly, non-dilutive dollars, license fees, access fees. We have global unencumbered rights to our intellectual property, to crofelemer. We have spent tens, hundreds of millions of dollars over decades, bringing these programs to this point where they are low risk, high probability of success because of all the proof of concept work that has been done with a paradigm shifting mechanism of action. This is our moment really to transform the company with catalysts.
All right, very good. Wrap things up here. Any final takeaways here?
I'm good. Love talking to you.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, Lisa, so much for the update. Thank you as well to all the viewers for tuning in to another episode here, the Lytham Spotlight Series. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. And of course, if you found today's episode insightful, please hit that like button as well to let us know. So, Lisa, thank you so much for your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak about the programs.
All right, very good. Everyone, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.